Hi guys, welcome to ANIMEized. This is the English translated version of the novel Throneofseal. The novel differs slightly from the Chinese animation or donghua. If you want more of these videos, please smash the like button, subscribe, and turn on the notifications. Enjoy and have a blessed day.
It seems that, this time, as long as they can find the snake demon god Endumili, perhaps he and his companions can indeed kill it here. The bewildering poison mist in the air became lighter, and the holy light shield released by longhaochen no longer needed replenishment, and was no longer affected by the remaining mist. At this moment, HaoYue appeared as if adorned with heavy makeup, entirely in bright pink. With a prominently raised abdomen, strong spiritual power continuously emanated from its body, and the roars of its four large heads became increasingly intense. The Devil Devouring Flowers in the distance were now clearly visible, and to everyone's surprise, these Devil Devouring Flowers appeared much weaker than previously. Evidently, continuously releasing the bewildering poison mist consumed a significant amount of their strength. Roar! HaoYue's four large heads roared towards the sky, and its enlarged pink body moved forward boldly, surrounded by a green glow. With the support of the floating technique, it had no worries about sinking into the swamp. It charged directly towards the Devil Devouring Flowers. HaoYue, be careful! longhaochen loudly shouted. HaoYue immediately conveyed a reassuring emotion to him, its sturdy and powerful limbs accelerating forward. On its body, the purple light that longhaochen had seen many times before once again rippled. However, this time, the purple glow was even more intense than before. The purple halo was not as far-reaching, only floating around HaoYue's body, but as it boldly charged into the Devil Devouring Flowers, the effect of this purple light became evident. The Devil Devouring Flowers seemed to be greatly afraid of it, not daring to open their flower buds to attack it, allowing HaoYue to collide with them. When the purple light released by HaoYue came into contact with the Devil Devouring Flowers, those giant flesh-eating flowers rapidly withered, both roots and flower buds, quickly withering and falling to the ground. HaoYue separated one head, opened its mouth and sucked. Faintly, it seemed like a small cluster of pink liquid was sucked into its abdomen. Then it moved towards the second Devil Devouring Flower. It repeated the process from before. The Devil Devouring Flowers that made longhaochen deeply wary seemed to be powerless before HaoYue, just like snow encountering fire. They had no resistance, and in just a moment, all the Devil Devouring Flowers within the sight of everyone withered and disappeared into the swamp. "Let's go, we'll follow," longhaochen shouted. The group moved again, following closely behind HaoYue as they advanced. The actual number of Devil Devouring Flowers was not as many as longhaochen had speculated, around 300 to 400, but due to their enormous size, they occupied a considerable area. Longhaochen noticed, if they took a slightly farther route, they should be able to avoid these Devil Devouring Flowers, not necessarily having to pass through their territory. Undoubtedly, if HaoYue hadn't appeared in time, it would have been challenging, if not impossible, to pass through them directly. The bewildering poison mist of these Devil Devouring Flowers was indeed too frightening. HaoYue's speed was getting faster, and it could be seen that with each Devil Devouring Flower it didn't destroy. The pink color on its body dimmed slightly. When the last Devil Devouring Flower became its food, its body color returned to normal. However, at this moment, HaoYue, as if seeking help, quickly returned to longhaochen, all four heads trembling slightly, then emitted a series of low and deep hums towards longhaochen. "Good." Longhaochen nodded vigorously to HaoYue. Then he immediately turned to his companions and said, "Wait here, we'll be back soon." The purple light instantly lit up the next moment, and longhaochen and HaoYue almost disappeared in an instant. Caier had been following longhaochen, and suddenly seeing him disappear out of thin air startled her, her face showing clear signs of panic. Yuan hurriedly came over to her and whispered, "It's okay, Captain should be helping HaoYue evolve. Let's wait here." Since longhaochen didn't let them go with him to help HaoYue evolve, it was evident that he was confident. So, Yuan didn't tell Caier about the possible dangers longhaochen might face helping HaoYue. Indeed, longhaochen was confident, because before leaving through the teleportation, HaoYue had clearly informed him through telepathy that the process of evolution this time would be very brief. As the saying goes, accumulation leads to eruption. After a year of closed-door training, coupled with the large amount of essence from Devil Devouring Flowers and bewildering poison mist absorbed this time, the power accumulated within HaoYue was already massive, much more urgent than previous breakthroughs, but it was undoubtedly going to be smoother. A flash of light, longhaochen and HaoYue appeared out of thin air on a rugged hill. Black and red, along with the thick, turbid air, once again appeared within longhaochen's senses. His twin swords drawn horizontally, longhaochen immediately assumed a defensive stance, while keeping his attention focused entirely on HaoYue. Unlike the previous breakthroughs where he tried to suppress his own aura as much as possible, HaoYue had just returned to its original world. The four big heads immediately raised, roaring and howling towards the sky. It was a roar full of the majesty of a returning king, as if heralding that as a king of its generation, it once again possessed the power to control everything. Puff, a sudden burst from the protrusion on Hao Yue's neck. A brand new head abruptly extended, growing in just the time of 3 breaths since it arrived through the teleportation. Such breakthrough speed indicates how urgent Hao Yue's evolution is this time. The breakthrough speed indicates the urgency of Hao Yue's evolution this time. This newly grown head is similar in size to the other 4, with the main difference being the horns on its head. Its horns are very unique, resembling a chrysanthemum blossoming on its head. In the center of this chrysanthemum, there is a rare ancient character. Close, seldom seen on the Holy Demon continent. The eyes of this head are dark purple, distinctly different from the bright purple emitted by Hao Yue's entire body before. When Hao Yue releases its entire body and when the eyes of all heads change color, they all emit a bright purple color. However, the purple color in the eyes of this head is much darker. The head with the chrysanthemum horns shook vigorously, emitting a strong roar along with the somewhat hoarse voices of the other 4 heads. A terrifying aura suddenly burst from Hao Yue, causing even longhaochen, its blood contract partner, to involuntarily take a step back under the powerful pressure. His heart was deeply shocked. He could clearly feel that at this moment, Hao Yue's strength had clearly surpassed his own. A 8th-ranked magical beast, equivalent to the aura of a 7th-ranked powerhouse. And don't forget, Hao Yue is an 8th-ranked magical beast with 5 attributes. Judging by the overall aura it exudes, it's doubtful if even a 9th-ranked magical beast could easily defeat it. Each of Hao Yue's 5 heads has a different eye color, but without exception, the eyes all become sharp at this moment. Moreover, its body begins to change with the emergence of the 5th head. Its body, which is over 10 meters long, begins to expand again, its scales becoming thicker, its bones larger, each head's size increasing with the growth of its body, and its neck thickening. Just as longhaochen is astonished by the changes in Hao Yue's body, suddenly, another scene that astonishes him unfolds. Puff, a sound like the tearing of silk suddenly resounds, and the 2 large protrusions on Hao Yue's back suddenly split open, revealing a burst of deep purple blood, as 2 wings, each over 3 meters wide, unfold behind it. Hao Yue's wings lack feathers, resembling bat wings, but are more solid than bat wings, with a very thick membrane, presenting a dark purple color. Just like the eyes of the 5th head, the wings burst out of the body and quickly heal at an astonishing speed. The thick scales also begin to grow and spread upwards from the base of the wings. Along with the appearance of the wings, Hao Yue's total length finally stabilizes at 15 meters, but its overall volume is at least twice as large as before. The terrifying and solid pressure gives longhaochen a somewhat unreal feeling. Is it really just an 8th-ranked magical beast? However, an 8th-ranked magical beast having such overwhelming and majestic pressure, filled with the aura of an emperor, is unheard of. Watching the changes in Hao Yue, for some unknown reason, longhaochen feels a slight sense of panic, unable to explain where this panic comes from, but he is sure that, even with Yating by his side, they are definitely not a match for Hao Yue. Just at this moment, longhaochen suddenly feels his body warming up. If someone were here, they would see the 9 purple light patterns on his forehead glowing brightly. Even his skin turns purple at this moment. An aura exactly like Hao Yue's is released from longhaochen. He can clearly feel that his internal and external spiritual power are rapidly surging at an eruptive speed. The increased spiritual power is not of the light attribute, but it's a special existence that longhaochen has never experienced. This spiritual power is pure to the extreme, but without any attribute. When it comes into contact with his own light attribute spiritual power, it transforms into light attribute. 100, 200, 300, 500, 1000, 2000, 3000. The spiritual power inside longhaochen's body has continuously increased by a total of 3000, and the rate of increase has only begun to slow down, and this is only the amount of spiritual power increase within himself. He is not sure how much the external spiritual power has increased, as he can only feel that his entire body is filled with explosive power now. This feeling is truly wonderful. Without a doubt, this improvement is entirely brought by Hao Yue. In the previous cultivation process, it can be said that most of the time, longhaochen gave more to Hao Yue, like the present, simultaneously increasing by 3000 spiritual power during the breakthrough, can be said to be unprecedented. And it can be imagined how significant Hao Yue's improvement is this time. Moreover, with wings, Hao Yue undoubtedly has the ability to fly. If longhaochen is still at the 5th rank, he would transform from an earth knight to a sky knight. Hao Yue's massive body slowly turns around, and all over its heavy scales, a faint purple light is emitted. Its 2 front claws slowly lift up, standing upright just like a human, creating a stark contrast with longhaochen. The 5 heads gaze at the sky, and in their eyes, there is a hint of indescribable coldness. Gazing into the distance, they emit another sharp roar. The roar gradually turns into a long howl, as if expressing the inner frustration completely. Longhaochen silently feels the change in Hao Yue's emotions, saying nothing, just silently observing. In the distance, it seems that some creatures are rapidly approaching, but in Hao Yue's eyes, there is a strong determination. The 2 front claws slowly touch the ground, and the 5 heads of Hao Yue bow down to longhaochen together, along with the newly grown head, all pressing close to longhaochen's body, and their eyes soften simultaneously, rubbing against longhaochen. Hao Yue's voice echoes in longhaochen's mind. Brother, I've evolved. I've finally entered the completion stage. Haha, those tiny scraps can no longer threaten my existence. Someday, when I return here, I'll definitely crush them all to pieces. Completion stage. Longhaochen looks at Hao Yue with confusion. Hao Yue nods gently. Xiaoguang lowers its head, bumping into Longhaochen's legs, and a gentle force lifts Longhaochen's body, sliding up along Xiaoguang's long and sturdy neck to Hao Yue's back. Brother, when you summoned me to your planet for the first time, you used your blood to help me escape the larval stage and enter the growth stage. And just now, I finally broke through the growth stage and officially entered the completion stage. After entering the completion stage, my true strength can gradually be revealed. In the following period, I will gradually perfect myself, and my true power will gradually awaken. Longhaochen is surprised, realizing that Hao Yue has just entered the completion stage now. So how powerful will it be when it truly breaks through the completion stage? Hao Yue senses Longhaochen's thoughts, and it conveys a proud emotion to Longhaochen, as if it's proud of its future strength. Brother, I can't remember either, and I don't know how powerful I'll be when I reach the ultimate form, but my body eagerly look forward to the day when I reach that stage. Longhaochen smiles slightly, and gently patted Xiaoguang's neck. In my heart, your safety is the most important thing. As long as you're safe, I don't care how strong you become. All 5 heads of Hao Yue turn back, and the 5 pairs of eyes of different colors gaze at Longhaochen, their soft gaze seeming to melt, all leaning in front of Longhaochen, gently rubbing against him. This closeness made Longhaochen feel warm in his heart, realizing that no matter how strong Hao Yue becomes, it will always be a good companion and brother. He affectionately pets each of their heads, acknowledging the bond between them. Let's go, now that you've completed your evolution. Let's return now, before the rest get worried. At this moment, he also noticed a large number of undead creatures are rapidly approaching from a distance, and there are several particularly powerful auras and pressures emerging. Hao Yue's 5 heads rise again, and in a majestic roar, a deep purple light covers both him and Longhaochen, shimmering in purple radiance. And the man and beast disappear simultaneously in this black and red world. This time, Longhaochen feels that the teleportation is noticeably different. As in previous teleportations, he could feel himself traversing space and arriving next to Hao Yue, but this time, he vaguely senses that, as if Hao Yue controlled the power of space, directly bringing them back to their original space. With a flash of light, when the massive form of Hao Yue reappears in front of everyone from Martial Level Number 64 Demon Hunting Squad can't help but take a cold breath. Lin Xin looks at the massive wings unfolding behind Hao Yue, unable to help but say, "Damn, so domineering. Is this really Hao Yue?" Wan Yuanyuan exclaims in surprise. "Is this the 5th head? Does Hao Yue have any limits? Will its heads keep growing?" Han Yu shakes his head and says, "I don't think so. Look, this time, there are no protrusions on both sides of Hao Yue's body. There shouldn't be any more additions to the heads. But 5 heads are already very powerful. Its aura is at least equivalent to an 8th level magical beast." Chininer thinks and says, "I'm curious, what attribute does this 5th head of Hao Yue have?" Shima Xian makes the final concluding statement. "Regardless of its attribute, as long as it's powerful. Hao Yue is powerful, and that makes our demon hunting squad strong." Hao Yue's 5 heads turn back, and it gently roars towards the crowd. Its massive body slowly crouches down. At this moment, everyone notices that, underneath Hao Yue's sturdy limbs, there are signs of congealed ice, preventing its massive body from reaching the ground. Longhaochen smiles and says, "Hao Yue is inviting you all to come up. Holy Guard number 11 and number 12, temporarily return to Eternal Melody. Yiting, you come back too." 3 rays of light simultaneously merge into Longhaochen's body. Hao Yue's evolution is complete, boosting Longhaochen's confidence even more, and Hao Yue has already conveyed clear information to him, indicating that this dark swamp poses little threat to it. Since that's the case, it's better to keep some of our strength hidden on the surface, to play a more crucial role in critical moments. Longhaochen's figure flickers, appearing next to caier, extending his hand towards her. Caier isn't seeing Hao Yue for the first time. Initially, in the images presented by Yes Xiaolei, he and Hao Yue protected her together. She naturally knows that Hao Yue is Longhaochen's mount. With a curious mood, she hands her right hand to Longhaochen, her pretty face slightly blushing, radiating pure and charming beauty. Longhaochen is slightly stunned, his face involuntarily blushing a bit, but his heart is warmed even more. Caier is letting him hold her hand again, evidently increasing her acceptance of him. Holding her delicate and boneless hand, Longhaochen barely suppresses the surging emotions in his heart, supporting them with spiritual power, floating up together with her, landing once again on Hao Yue's back. The others also climb onto Hao Yue's back. With Hao Yue protecting them, they still maintain a well-organized formation, ready to adapt at any moment. At this moment, Hao Yue's 5th head suddenly turns around, directly stopping in front of Lin Xin, looking at the forest serpent crystal hanging from his neck, emitting a low growl. Lin Xin quickly covers the crystal with his hand. "Hao Yue, you can't have this. I need to go back to refine elixirs. The fifth head disdainfully snorts, shakes its head at him, and then turns away. LongHaoChen smiles faintly and says, Xiaozi is telling you to put away the forest serpent crystal. With it around, the swamp's poisonous mist is nothing. Huh? Lin Xin is taken aback. He's a smart person, and in the next moment, he realizes. Boss, are you saying the attribute of HaoYue's fifth head is? LongHaoChen nods slightly. Your guess is correct, it's poison. Upon hearing the word poison, the expressions of the crowd involuntarily change. No wonder HaoYue was devouring the thick poisonous mist earlier. Turns out it was to nurture the fifth head with the poison attribute. Poison attribute, it's the first time they've heard of it. Among known magical beasts, it seems like there's no existence of this attribute. Of course, excluding plant magical beasts like the Devil Devouring Flower from before. HaoYue's fifth head raises slightly, and in a low roar, its eyes begin to glow, shining with a dazzling purple light. Strangely enough, with its glowing eyes, the surrounding poisonous mist suddenly disperses as if encountering a terrifying situation. In just the blink of an eye, the poisonous mist within a radius of at least 300 meters has instantly dissipated, and, as HaoYue advances, the poisonous mist continues to dissipate. This is much more effective than the previous effects of Holy Guard No. 11 or the Forest Serpent Crystal. The field of vision suddenly widens, causing the mood of the crowd to improve somewhat due to the unexpected environment of the deadly swamp. In fact, the color of the swamp changes a lot. Some places are dark brown, some places are dark yellow, and there are even places with light green. At this moment, with a broadened field of vision, the things that everyone can see have increased significantly. Within the growth range of the Devil Devouring Flower, there is only this type of plant. Beyond this range, other plants start to appear. Still dominated by vines, there are also some plants that the crowd doesn't recognize. HaoYue's hooves fly, taking big strides into the depths of the dark swamp, as if it has no concerns, not paying any attention to the surroundings. Strangely enough, since everyone got on its back, there hasn't been a single magical beast daring to attack. Hey, isn't it strange? Where did those omnipresent swamp giant lizards run off to? Chininair looks around with a curious expression. Not having to walk and being safer makes her feel much better. The frustration from being lost in the poisonous mist before has also disappeared a lot. Lin Xin chuckles and says, Don't you understand this? Lizards encountered their ancestor lizard, where else would they run? Roar. Xiaoguang suddenly turns its head back, glaring fiercely at Lin Xin. Lin Xin is taken aback by its fierce and shining eyes. Boss, what is HaoYue doing? LongHaoChen smiles and says, HaoYue says it's not a lizard, telling you not to compare it with those lowly reptiles, or else it will throw you down. Lin Xin chuckles and says, Alright, our HaoYue is the most powerful. What lizard? It's even more formidable than a dragon. Right. Flattery doesn't cost money, he's always generous in that regard. Therefore, he won't be stingy. HaoYue snorts, no longer paying attention to him. Perhaps because HaoYue's fifth head, Xiaozi, has just been born, it is particularly diligent, almost single-handedly completing the task of clearing the way. Xiaozi's method of clearing the way is simple, opening its mouth, spewing out breath in front of it. Its breath is the same color as its eyes, a dark purple color. Wherever the breath passes, no matter how thick the vines are, they immediately melt. The path becomes clear and unobstructed. However, LongHaoChen notices that Xiaozi is continuously taking deep breaths. With each breath, it seems to be absorbing some of the swamp's air. Along with its breathing, the distant poisonous mist dissipates more and more. Although LongHaoChen cannot be certain about Xiaozi's strength compared to the other heads, but if this poison attribute is used well, it is probably more terrifying than any other attribute. In just a short while, the distance HaoYue has advanced is already greater than the total distance LongHaoChen and the others covered before. It went deeper into the swamp. Everyone also received good recovery. HaoYue's broad back is over 10 meters long, although it accommodates 7 people, and doesn't seem crowded at all. However, LongHaoChen, for caution's sake, always keeps caier close by, so the two are relatively close. Continuing forward, HaoYue travels for about half an hour, and they have entered the depths of the swamp. HaoYue's powerful aura makes the journey much smoother. If it were before, they probably wouldn't have reached here even if they spent 3 times the time. Passing through another dense thicket of vines, a small lake appears ahead. The lake is not deep, surprisingly clear in this murky environment, with the bottom visible. For the first time, HaoYue, who has been advancing forcefully, comes to a halt, its 5 heads looking around, with a hesitant look in its eyes. LongHaoChen can sense the fear in HaoYue's heart at this moment, and in his perception, there is also a sense of unease. With a sense of foreboding, LongHaoChen shouts, Prepare for battle, be vigilant around us. At this moment, caier instinctively looks in a certain direction, and LongHaoChen feels her body tensing up suddenly. His gaze immediately follows hers. A chilling light vanishes in the blink of an eye. The speed of this cold light is simply too fast, almost skimming the surface of the lake, its flickering speed even surpassing the blades at this moment. HaoYue suddenly emits a low roar, its massive body tilting slightly to one side. longhaochen can feel the pain in its low roar, and immediately jumps down from HaoYue's back. At the same time, a golden figure separates from him, staying on HaoYue's back, on HaoYue's sturdy right front leg. There is a wound with rolled edges. You can see that a scale as thick as half a foot has been cut in half, revealing the nerves inside. However, this wound is healing at an astonishing speed. Although longhaochen cannot test the strength of HaoYue's scales with an attack, he has fought alongside HaoYue many times, and he has a good understanding of HaoYue's defensive capabilities. Considering HaoYue's spiritual power strength, even before evolution, it is probably in the tens of thousands. It could double after evolution. Under these circumstances, being instantly cut through the defense by the enemy, and not even having time to dodge or react, just how powerful an attack could achieve this? At this very moment, suddenly, longhaochen's pupils contract, because he is horrified to see, right in that clear little lake, there are dozens, nearly 100 cold lights silently rising, all shooting towards HaoYue's direction. The speed is so fast, it's almost imperceptible to the naked eye. HaoYue! Longhaochen shouts almost frantically. At the same time, the hymn of the goddess of light is swung forward, transforming countless golden lights into dots scattered in the air. This strike, longhaochen has exerted all his strength, not only fully outputting his spiritual power, but also pushing his attack speed and coverage area to the limit. It is the demon-killing flash. HaoYue roars lowly, and its two massive wings suddenly spread open, forcefully flapping, propelling its massive body into the air. HaoYue is no ordinary creature. While its body ascends, its 5 heads and 5 breaths have been expelled in the most direct manner, booming towards the clear little lake. Amidst the piercing explosions, longhaochen feels as if he has been struck by giant cones. Even the hymn of the goddess of light, as powerful as it is, emits a faint mournful sound, and the immense recoil directly sends longhaochen's body flying backward. But by successfully creating airborne time with demon-killing flash, amid a muffled groan, longhaochen's face turned much paler. The same golden light appeared collectively on the members of the martial level number 64 demon hunting squad under the effect of the soul chain. Those cold lights did not spare longhaochen, they almost slid along the ground, instantly catching up to longhaochen's body. Given the tremendous destructive power they displayed when injuring HaoYue, brilliant holy armor on longhaochen's body was evidently unable to resist. However, right at this moment, longhaochen's body, under the pull of a white light, instantly soared into the air, barely avoiding the invasion of those white lights at the last moment. Everyone felt a cold sweat breaking out behind them, the key being that this crisis came too suddenly, from the attack on HaoYue to longhaochen jumping down, and then the widespread attacks. The entire process happened in just 1 or 2 breaths. A violent roar erupted in the next moment, and the 5 colored breaths crashed into the small lake, erupting into a violent roar. The terrifying explosion of the 5 elements almost turned the small lake upside down. The area of this small lake is only about 100 or 200 meters in diameter. Massive spiritual power fluctuations spread wildly through the air. Cold lights rose into the air at this moment, scattering in all directions. Seizing this opportunity, everyone finally saw what those cold lights were. This discovery couldn't help but make them gasp in shock. Longhaochen's chest heaved violently, and he could clearly feel a chill running down his body just now, if he hadn't been prepared in advance, leaving Yating on HaoYue's back, relying on the traction ability of the holy guiding spirit furnace to pull himself back onto HaoYue's back at a critical moment. Avoiding this would have been nearly impossible, because he didn't even have time to release his own spiritual wings. What kind of monster is this? Either longhaochen nor his companions recognized any of the monsters during this sudden attack. This type of monster is indeed special, not particularly large, only about 2 meters long, a peculiar type of fish, completely flat, but not wide, approximately a foot wide, its body appearing flat and elongated. However, its appearance is truly hideous. At the front of its head, there is a meter-long sharp saw-toothed structure, and there are teeth on both sides.